Welcome to the show, All Things Writing. I am your host, Brian the Writer. Let me take you on a journey through my writing life and introduce you to some of the amazing talent that exists in the writing world. Whether you are looking for a little advice or just to catch an interesting interview, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All Things Writing starts. Welcome back to All Things Writing. I'm your host, Brian the Writer, and today we're going to dive into a conversation that blends service, sacrifice, and the power of storytelling, quite frankly. As many of you know, I am a proud veteran myself. I spent many years in the Army. So when I was approached about interviewing my next guest, I couldn't say no, because Army takes care of Army. Veterans take care of veterans, really. My guest is someone who has spent a lot of time, basically his life, serving others in the military. He was also, just like me, on the front lines as a firefighter as well. Now he's a writer. So after 20 years of military service, he's channeling his experiences as a leader in these stressful situations into some insights for an upcoming historical fiction novel. It's called A Walk with Heroes, or A Walk Among Heroes. James McDevitt he has a very impressive resume. He's a combat veteran with deployments in both Iraq and Syria. As an Army infantry officer. He's also experienced, as I said, frontline firefighter as well. A Walk Among Heroes isn't really just about war. It's about generational sacrifices that shape families, the quiet strength that is really just forged through hardship, and kind of the imperfect heroes who remind us of our own shared humanity. One of the things that I always say is that, a hero is someone who is nothing special but chooses to do something when everybody else chooses to do nothing. So he's a true hero. So without further ado, let's welcome James to the show. James, it's an honor to have you on All Things Writing. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you doing?
Excellent. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah, I always say it's great fun having another vet on the show, especially one that works in the fiction realm, even if it is historical fiction. It's great fun to have other authors on that have that shared experience. So before we get too much into the weeds, now I could try and tell everybody about you myself, but I would suck at it, and they would throw eggs, and nobody wants rotten fruit thrown at you. So or fruit or protein or whatever the case may be. So why don't we ask you, tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I grew up all over the place. My dad was in the Coast Guard, so I would hop from state to state. And then I ended up somehow in Mobile, Alabama. That's where I went to high school. I played football, and then I didn't get a scholarship because our football team was the worst in the state. So naturally, I joined the Army, to pay for college.
Yep.
I joined as an 88 Mike, and I didn't know what that would mean until I was in Iraq 5 months later.
88 Mike, truck driver.
Yep, and that was my first experience, and that was in 2005 to 2006. So, and then I come back, I go to Southern Miss to play football. I earn a full ride, and then my whole coaching staff gets fired. So I have to earn another full ride, and then I get another call saying I got to go back to Iraq.
Yeah.
So that's 2005 to 2010. And then afterwards, I decided to play for the SEC. I play for Kentucky, better opportunity. There, I get 9 sacks my first 3 days, and I get kicked off the field for making plays. So it was all downhill from there. And then that's when I finished my degree in continuing education. I ended up in the University of South Alabama. I went back from Kentucky to Mobile, and then I became a firefighter in 2015 until now.
Hey, are you still active firefighting?
Yes, in Mobile, Alabama.
Fun. I don't. So those who have listened to the show for all know I had the Army and firefighting experience. It being a firefighter, it's in your blood. And I don't think it ever goes away.
No. My dad and my grandpa were firefighters, and I never even considered it until I was about 29. And then I'm like, oh, there's an opening. I got hired as a cop in Columbus, Georgia, but I decided to go the fire route. And then also in 2019, I went to OCS. So I went from enlisted to OCS in 2019. So,
Smart man. Smart man.
So right now I'm a captain, and I'm about to retire because I'm at 21 years. So
nice. Well, congratulations. That is always exciting. Yeah.
But,
so you got to spend those 20 years in you Army infantry, right?
first 88 Mike for the first 12, and then infantry the second half.
It's really funny. I always so I was an intelligence analyst, 96 Bravo, and I always said I was a 96 Bravo slash 88 Mike because I had deuce and a half generator towing behind. I did that forever. I don't know how I got saddled with that deal, but anyway. What experiences from your time in uniform have kind of shaped you to the person that you are today?
You learn a lot of adversity. You learn to wait and be patient. And then my favorite part is you learn the psychology of people and how you get to learn and their highs and then their lows and how we operate and interact with them through the rank structure. And then that's why as a veteran, it's similar in the fire department. So it's kind of like you're used to it. So it's not as bad. But getting to know people is my favorite part. And what shaped me was just growing up, being young. My first tour, 19, 18. And I've had the opportunity to be deployed as lower enlisted, an NCO, and an officer, which is rare, but you get to see it in all levels. So it's a very interesting perspective. But the adversity and just experience has shaped me who I am, like most people.
When I got out, I bumped into one of my fellow NCOs from the old unit, and he said, "Do you miss it?" I said, "Miss it? No, but you miss the people."
Yeah. I think most people say that. I don't miss it at all because for me, it's just a repetitive thing. I can go into each meeting and tell you what everyone's going to say, how it's going to be, what we're going to be threatened, and it just goes on and on. But the people, definitely, you miss the people because you make your best friends through trauma bonding, and that's what we're great at.
100%. You through that adversity, you forge friendships that I don't know that ever really go away. But you've had troops in some incredibly demanding environments. How do those leadership experiences impact the way you build and develop your characters? How do they inform those characters?
Well, for me, in my book, my best friends are the characters. So through growing up, I deployed with a certain group twice, and most of those guys are actually characters in my book. So it's pretty easy to take apart their personalities and mine. And that was the best part of writing the book, I think. Just because I got to hang out with all my best friends again, because we've all dissipated. We're all in different states, so we all have our own lives, but I actually get to hang out with them now through my experiences with them in the past.
It's always interesting to me that the people we know, the people we interact with, become characters in the story. When you're going through your daily life, going through firefighting, maybe you're on scene with a particular police officer that just is almost a caricature of a police officer. Do you sit there and think, take mental notes? You're like, hey, wait a minute, I can use this.
Yes. One thing in my life is I like reading people, so I do that through psychology, football, then poker, and then being a firefighter in the military. We're all taught to read some people in a way, and then definitely by poker you get to see the deception in it. But then as a firefighter, you get to see people in their worst times most of the time, and then as military, you get to see them in all aspects, from bad, good. It just doesn't stop. And so that's what I like the most. I can size up someone, like you said, the police officer, and be like, oh, this will be a good character, or this is a stereotypical guy that we think would be a police officer. And then you try to analyze and be like, I wonder what his life's like. For me, it's entertaining to be like, just to guess.
You look at a police officer and the first thing you think, the first idea that pops in your mind is, oh yeah, this guy is going to do something to get us all in trouble. I can just tell.
Absolutely.
Something's going to go wrong with this person. I know it.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So I know you're still kind of one foot in the door, but when you transition from that civilian to military life, or military to civilian life, that's a challenge. And I know that I've spoken with several vets over the years that was not an easy transition.
No.
What advice would you give other veterans who are trying to find kind of that meaning and purpose after that service is ended? Because I know for a lot of us, when it's over with, all of a sudden you're not hanging out with your buddies anymore. You're not doing the stupid stuff. I kept it clean, although the Army guy and although staff sergeant in me wanted to just say something completely inappropriate. But we're not doing that stuff anymore.
Well, I spent a lot of my life trying to analyze that because I like to know, but we've lost about 5,000, just under 5,000 in the GWOT war
Mhm.
in combat,
Mhm.
but we lost 45,000 to suicide,
Yeah.
and that should be very concerning. But you can relate it. I think the psychology behind it is that once you're put on a platform like that and you
Yeah.
mean something to someone and you have a family, it's very difficult to come back, step down, to not have a role in anything, to not be of importance, and to most of our families are now split up. So you come home
Yeah.
to nothing. And
Yeah.
it's not just, you can correlate it to other things, like a lot of the orphan Annies killed themselves too.
Yeah.
So they in the same situation, but a completely different subsect. You have someone who's been on a platform of an elevated status, and then they just come and drop off to nothing, and
Yeah.
that's very difficult to take for humans in general. And you'll see that across the board. If there's some special person in a high role and then they come back to nothing, it really falls apart. So it's sad, but that's the reality we live in.
Yeah, I know that I've always been, I always get really frustrated when I see the news media, such, and no, and I'm not disparaging the memory of Diane Keaton at all, because phenomenal actress, phenomenal human being. You look at the amount of time that's given to somebody like Diane Keaton, who had a phenomenal career. Again, not disparaging her career,
No,
but then you think about some soldier, sailor, airman, or marine that ended it today because the voices in their head wouldn't stop, and that doesn't make the news.
not at all. And
No.
we don't have hardly any programs. We don't have any community where we can actually really help people. We're trying more than ever, but it's still not even close to enough because they're just going home. And people like National Guard and reservists, they get deployed a lot, and
Yeah.
then they literally come home right after they're done
Mm-hmm.
to nothing and no one, and their families are broken and they don't know what to do because it's hard stepping back from being that and having that someone full time to nothing.
Yeah.
But I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like I see all the programs, but I don't think they're working too efficiently.
Yeah, I'm actually a strong advocate for the American Legion and the VFW, because at least you're with your people again.
Uh,
That helps. I think that helps a little bit. It doesn't go all the way, but it's a step in the right direction. And I think the VA has done a better job getting that information out there to people who need it. But still, way more needs to be done. Agreed. But hey, in a more positive, let's talk about your new book, A Walk Among Heroes. I know it's on pre-order now, right?
yes,
If I'm
sir.
correct. Yeah. What inspired you? So I always question the sanity of anybody who decides to write a book. I've written 14 of them, so I'm an
Wow.
expert in insanity, I think. So what made you say, you know what, I'm going to write a book?
Well, I can relate it back to a single movie called The Hurricane with Denzel Washington.
Okay.
In the 6th grade, I watched it and told myself I was going to write a book. That maybe made a page and then I completely forgot about it. But that was the first time in my head that I wanted to be a writer. And then ever since, I've been publishing poetry and small
Okay.
writing, and I've just been interested in writing.
Yeah.
And then this book actually came up on my second deployment off a mission, I wrote down in my journal, because I made a goal to read 100 books that year.
Okay.
We have a lot of downtime doing nothing, so I decided to try to read 100 books. I only made it to 73, but that inspired a book. I'm like, maybe I should write one. And that was the start of it. But then lo and behold, it took 15 years to actually be like, you know what, I need to stop pushing it off and trying to pursue all the other things with my ADHD. And I actually need to do something I like. So
Ooh, shiny things.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. It's amazing how many people I hear when I do shows and conventions come up to me and say, "Oh, I've got a book I've been working on for 5 years." 5 years. Then, sit down and write it. But it's a challenge, especially when you've got a lot that you want to bring into it.
Well, the second I decided to actually do it, it was on sale for pre-order in a couple months.
Yeah.
So I'm like only good at a couple things in my life, and football and writing, and football's over. So might as well start writing. And that's within months it was on pre-order, and then I've been working on it ever since.
Yeah. So what message or emotion are you hoping that readers will walk away with after finishing this book? What do you want them to take away?
To know veterans a little bit more. And to know the sacrifices they made, all those who fought and died for us. And I had an Army spouse read it, and she said it's good for a spouse too, because a lot of them don't know. You just come home. I lost a relationship like that after my second deployment, and I couldn't describe it. It took me a decade to realize why I was distancing myself. But it was the same reason that we just talked about. You come home to nothing. You're there unemployed, going to school when you were just in a desert shooting at people. Very difficult to transition. But, I hope they just know that they're not alone. And then hopefully I can get them into jiu-jitsu too, because I have a portion of the book in the back, because I think veterans need to come back home to something. And for me, firefighting was another step in the right direction, because you get that family life and you get that camaraderie. And then jiu-jitsu, it builds self-esteem, and it just helps you out in all walks of life, I think. So I'm definitely a big advocate of it. And some of the best men are in it, because you have to leave your ego at the door, because you're going to get beat up every single day. And that definitely helps.
Yeah. So you have said, and by the way, I agree with this sentiment completely and totally. It is very important to show your characters as imperfect heroes. One of my favorite sayings is that, and I said it at the intro, a hero is somebody who does nothing or does something when others do nothing. Why is it essential to you to highlight their own flaws and their humanity?
Because like you said, we're humans. We're all flawed, and we always constantly make mistakes. We do bad things, and we just have to have the ability to step back up when we do a bad thing, accept it, take ownership of it, and try to get better and not make the same mistakes. But we're all flawed. So one of my editors in the female characters of my book, she's like, well, they don't have enough flaws. Because for me, I was speaking as like into the past. And, it's hard to see flaws in a relationship after it's over. You see the benefits or the plus sides. So you have to dig down deep. So a part of my editing the book was making my female characters more real. Because you're right. People, they want to see real. They don't want to see fake. They don't want to see, some superstar that never does anything wrong. They want to be immersed with their own lives and their own mistakes, because we're all imperfect.
I always think of in Superman. I think it's Superman 2, where it's either Superman 1 or Superman 2, where Christopher Reeves confronts himself, confronts the negative side of himself. You cannot have a totally perfect hero. Besides, it's boring reading.
Oh,
if
definitely.
Everybody's perfect. So, you need to have, you got to have a little bit of fun going on there.
We all subconsciously like the underdog, because, we feel more.
Oh yeah. I want to see, I used to do a lot of fencing. And that kind of popped up in my head when you mentioned getting hit. In fencing, you're going to walk out black and blue every night you go practice, because that's what you do. You're fencing. You're gonna even those. And I've got my foil back here. But even if you land the perfect hit, or whatever, or you manage to dodge or parry or whatever, you're still going to get hit, and you're still going to be black and blue everywhere. But that's part of the game, really. And you never want to fence somebody who is, you always want to fence people better than you. That's how you learn. Yeah.
Well, things like that are the best way to bring out an ego and all your insecurities. A lot of people don't understand, we scream our insecurities when we're put up to any anniversary or someone better than you. Your insecurities will come out. And for me, I enjoy it because then I can address them more.
Yeah, and I think you learn more in failure than you do in victory.
I say most successful people have the most failures.
Yeah. The relationship between war, love, and legacy is kind of a central theme in your novel. Am I right?
Yes.
How are these? What's the link back to you personally?
Well, I used a lot of my life experience to write it, and I think we all have different stories that are vastly different, but we have the same emotion from those things. So we'll all experience the same emotion, but our stories will be different. And I try to strike the emotion that was stricken in me, and I'm sure everyone else who could read it would relate it to some aspect of their life when they felt the same emotion.
Did you, as you were developing this storyline, for your novel, did you sort of have the novel already set in your head before you started writing, or was it something that you had to, we like the plotter or pantser argument. Did you have to plot it all out?
No, my ADD, no idea where the book was going to the next sentence. But as you formulate the book and then you create the book, and then I think that's why it's the hardest part for me after you wrote, because you're going to have to come back and pay attention to details, and I'm awful at that. So that's when the story really formulated this last year, where I made sure everything was tied together and made sense, because it's difficult writing a book over that long of a time. And a lot of my words would be repetition because I didn't read back to when I wrote it before. So I wrote the same thing. So you have to go through it over and over again. I think for me, attention to detail is the hardest part, even though the military strictly says attention to detail. But
well, and I think a lot of times when you're writing, let's say an Army SOP or something like that, there is a lot of repetition, because you almost have to harken back to things that have happened previously in that set of steps that a soldier has to take, and you can't leave anything to chance, because I think a lot of times you're relying on people that are coming after you to read your instructions, whereas a fiction novel, that's a little bit different, and it's historical fiction, so it always makes me wonder, as you were writing, did you have to go back and research certain events and things that happened in your storyline to make sure you were getting those details right?
Yes, a lot of research. I read all the comparables that were set in World War II just to get everything right. ChatGPT does a wonderful job in structuring and ordering it, so I can be like, what events and battles happened from D-Day to the surrender, so that it's a pretty good laid out plan, and that's what I use. I try to be as accurate as possible. You got to make up some things, and it's fiction, but I still try to be accurate with it. But it is hard, and it's funny how you. Oh, go ahead.
And lest anybody try to throw Molotov cocktails at us, we're not using ChatGPT to write fiction.
No.
We're just using it for the administrative end of things.
Yeah, they did a study on that. Those who used only ChatGPT, their brain wouldn't light up in anywhere. So and those that used it to assist, like with the semantics of everything, like when did this happen, their brains aren't affected, so they're still using all their brain power instead of just dumbing it down by strictly following what ChatGPT says. But it could be a great tool, but not to help you write word for word, but to guide you in the right direction. You have to literally tell it, don't change any of the words, because it'll try to, because that's how it's made.
I am working on, so this morning when I first got up, I used ChatGPT to help write my Facebook posts. Put in a set of things that I wanted to do, and it actually does speed up. It takes that 3-hour time block to plan my campaign over the week, to talk about different books and whatnot, and it compresses that time period to about 20 minutes. Saves me so much time.
Significant time for literally everything. So if you're using it to save, because we can't look up stuff faster than it can, period. No. So in order to save thousands of hours of your life, I would suggest someone have a ChatGPT app and start using it, because like you said, it'll go from so much time to very little time, and it's all through your words. So it's not plagiarizing. It's not copying. It's making something fat. You have the directions, and it's telling you the specific directions to follow.
Yeah.
So
I am actually using I'm using it right now to try and find instances where I have mixed up my tenses, basically, because that's something I will do a lot. I will get my tenses screwed up. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that. I'm using ChatGPT to help me write some sort of algorithm that will help me go through and find everything. But it is a useful tool within good reason.
Yes, I did the same thing with my tenses. And I'll spell a lot of the words differently in the same word, just because I go fast through it. And deer will be deer. I know the differences, but then you're like, oh, I just wrote a random word, but it means the same thing or something different.
I've actually, and I've run into this problem. You probably ran into it too. When I use Armyisms.
Oh yeah.
And it wants it to change it to something else. Like, no, I meant it that way.
Very difficult, especially with an editor, because a lot of them haven't been in the military. So they're like, what does this mean? You're like, what do you mean? That was taught to me my whole life. How do you not know? And then my sister's in the military too, so she'll use all her abbreviations, and I'm like, okay, you're gonna have to stop saying them, because I have no idea what you're talking about. It's rough.
We live off acronyms. We live off acronyms. It's amazing. It's amazing. Well, so I'm going to ask you the most important question I ever ask on the show is this. For listeners who want to pick up a copy of A Walk Among Heroes or follow your work, where can they find the book and stay connected with you online?
James McDevitt author.com. That'll have all the stores with the books, and I'm trying to get a signed copy in there. And then I have a Facebook profile, same thing, Walk Among Heroes. You can find it on there. But I like to interact and get feedback, because that's what makes our writing better. Having our readers tell us exactly what they liked and didn't like, so we can become better authors and better writers. Give them something they'll enjoy. I
always say that I can sell 10 books, or I can have one reader come up to me and tell me how much they enjoyed my book. And to be quite honest, that is the best feedback I get.
It is by far.
Yeah. Somebody enjoy your work.
Yes.
Is this why we do it? Well, my friend, thank you very much for spending time with me. I really, really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I will, and I'm going to, at the end of this video, I will get a QR code out there so people can click on it or look at it and go get a copy. Go get a copy. Just go get a copy. Well, anyway, thank you very much, James, for being with me today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your service.
You too as well. You too as well. Both in the Army realm and in the hose dragging world.
Yes, sir.
All right. James, I want to thank you so much for spending time with me today and for sharing not only your stories, but your experiences and kind of the heart behind A Walk Amongst Heroes. I know my listeners that really do appreciate it. Your journey from leading troops into combat, your firefighting experience to crafting stories on honor and sacrifice. It's inspiring. And I know the listeners are going to carry a lot from what you've shared with us today. So I really, really do appreciate it. Now, for those of you who are listening, A Walk Among Heroes is available on Amazon. I'm also going to provide as I often do, I'll provide a QR code at the very end. But honestly, if you just go look up A Walk Among Heroes on Amazon, you'll probably find it as well. I'm sure it's, as James said, a bunch of other places as well. You've got a lot of different options to find this great book. I highly encourage it. So as always, thank you for turning into All Things Writing. It always makes me happy to know people tuned in. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone else who loves powerful stories and unforgettable characters. Until next time, keep reading, keep writing, and keep creating. This is Brian the Writer for All Things Writing, signing off. This has been another amazing episode of All Things Writing. If you heard something that got your wheels spinning, check out the links in the show notes. Also, please follow the show and remember to leave those reviews. Those simple acts of kindness mean the world to us. Hop on over to briannowak.com, and that is Brian with a Y, and check out my latest novels. I'm on Amazon or wherever you buy your ebooks. And as a reminder, the music you heard on the show today was used under license from the artist Ryan Ancona. Thanks for listening to the show and have a blessed day.